Hello, welcome to another video of mine. This 100 hours video in particular might be my last mainline Pokemon game I will cover. These videos take an incredible amount of effort to make, and they've been really fun. But they also have been really grindy, though I suppose that's a part of the crux of Pokemon games. A good example would be this Platinum run. I started the game mid-November last year and only managed to finish it now. In any case, if you have a suggestion of a new type of videos, do leave it in the comment. I'll be sure to read any recommendations you guys give. But for now, join me as we cover the objectives of this run. As always, we'll aim for the highest level of the trainer card, the 5-star black trainer card. To be able to achieve this color and status, a Pokemon trainer starting out in Sinnoh must do these 5 things. Enter the Hall of Fame, complete the National Pokédex, win 1 Master Rank Pokemon Super Contest, obtain the Platinum Flag in the Underground, and defeat 100 trainers in a row in the Battle Tower. Upon first look, these don't seem too tough, right? Well, you're wrong. We'll cover the difficulties we encountered in this run as we get into the video, but let me just say one thing. I hate you, mother. I added a shiny objective just because people like to rave about shinies, so why not? You might find my reason for including this objective to be pretty interesting. And those 2 objectives should cover a good portion of the game. A really good portion of the game. Trust me. As always, apart from the recommendations, do leave a comment on the video. I always enjoy reading those, especially the stranger ones. A fool again, that we are. We told Professor Rowan our name, and we were asked to name our rival. I couldn't bring myself to name him my ass again, so we just gave him the generic Barry name. Barry was just being his usual self in the opening sequences of the game, as he dragged us into highly dangerous situations. Had Professor Rowan and Dawn not be there, we would have been live bait for the surrounding wild Pokemon. We chose Turtwig and bested Barry in a Pokemon dogfight, and proceeded to nickname her Terabo at Professor Rowan's lab. We said our goodbyes to our mother, who at this point we still loved very much, and received a parcel for Barry. Following the trend from all of my 100 hours videos, in between all of the major events in the game, I tried my best to capture all available Pokemon. I'll only be showing them by order of relevance, meaning only a small portion will be shown, like the Starly here, who was named Starabo, and Raybo, the Shinx. Upon our arrival in Jubilee Village, City, we ran into Dawn and Looker, who had a very impressionable first appearance. After finishing the trainer school and Poketch fiascos, we defeated Larry in a Pokemon dogfight yet again. Following a short Pokemon catching session, we continued on. In Orberg, this child escorted us voluntarily and took us to Perry. We were to fetch Rourke, who was in the mines. Rourke showed off some unimpressive moves and went back to the gym. As expected, Terabo was able to finish off Rourke's Pokemon with ease. We obtained our first badge close to the end of the second hour. We helped out the professor and Dawn and got the fashion case from this rather creepy man who was just lurking around. We then had a string of evolutions resulting from the short grind and capturing session, bringing the 3rd hour to a close. We spent the 4th hour progressing with the story, namely dealing with Team Galactic over at Flowerama Town and the Valley Windworks. Commander Mars was our next subject of abuse as we took our sweet time beating up all of our Pokemon. We also went through Eterna Forest with Cheryl, taking our time to defeat all of the trainers there and capturing even more Pokemon. With Cheryl healing our team after every battle, this was a good early game grinding spot. We met up with Gary as we went into the 5th hour, running into Cyrus together. We then ran into Best Waifu, who gave us the Cat HM. I never thought I'd use a Ponyta, but here we are. With Ponybo, we easily conquered Gardenia's gym, making quick work of all the grass-type Pokemon. We got the 2nd badge with very little effort and made our way out. We saved the bicycle person and his Pokemon and ran into Cynthia again. She gave us an egg that will eventually hatch into another egg. Catching Pokemon, hatching Matryoshka dolls, having a nice chat with Cyril over at Mount Coronet, grinding, you name it. We spent our time leisurely making our way through Sinnoh, finally arriving at Hearthome. We went to the Pokemon contest hall first, where we met Fantina and our mother. It was at this exact point in time that our relationship with our mother would begin to dwindle. We then challenged Fantina for the 3rd gym badge with Zelbo the Floatzel. Zelbo managed to take out the Duskull with a crunch, but ultimately failed to finish off Fantina's Mismagius. Zelbo got taken down with a Magical Leaf, and Terabo was then sent out to finish the job. With bites, Terabo carried us to a certain victory, scoring us yet another gym badge. With our new badge in tow, defeating Mary was a simple task. He gave us some advice after he lost, which I think he should take himself. We depleted the Silesian ruins of all its items, and went on to grind for levels, as well as capturing Pokemon. It was at the 11th hour that grace befell us as we encountered a full shiny Chansey. You might not be able to tell, but I was absolutely ecstatic. Encountering the shiny here meant that I would be cutting a great deal of hours spent on grinding. In any case, this Chansey was named Shinybo. We traversed through the wilderness of Sinnoh again, and finally arrived in Veilstone City. We quickly grabbed the Porygon from this old being, and realized the same thing that we always do when we obtain a Porygon: we need TMs. So, we spent some time gambling. Again. With a lot of coins in our pockets, we blew it all on TMs for Technobow. We spent the rest of the hour clearing out Veilstone's gym's trainers, before finally being able to challenge its leader, Maylene. In all honesty, we weren't prepared for this fight. Not at all. Despite taking out Maylene's Meditite, we lost Terabo to the Machoke. Terabo was just barely able to scrape a win against the Machoke, and got taken down by the Lucario after. I had to heal stall with Ponybow, who eventually went down anyway. Bobo the Vaporeon went out to blind the Lucario, before finally taking it down with Raybo. Not having done a Nuzlocke run for so long has made me really rusty. After the messy win, we helped out Dawn, who had her Pokédex stolen by Team Galactic. We got the Pokédex back, and retrieved the Fly HM with Looker. To circumvent the need for trading with another game and emulator, I've edited the ROM and put in the other status of the game, as well as the unobtainable Pokémon. I've placed them in their most relevant routes, like this Piplup and Chimchar, who I've placed at Route 201. They were caught and named Pengubo and Monkeybo, respectively. We would go on another grinding session for levels and EVs, taking us to the end of the 18th hour. I'm not quite sure why we EV trained, it was just autopilot at this point. On our next fight with Wally, our new starters really shine through, along with Technobow, who had evolved into a Porygon 2 by this point. Terry declared his love for Crasher Wake and ran off yet again. Luchador Wake was a pushover, like always. Technobow took care of his Gyarados and Floatzel, while Terabo one-shot at his Quagsire. Despite his loss, he had a great time battling. So did we, to be fair. It's always fun to absolutely dominate. Jerry bumped into us again right as we exited the gym, and now we have to solve the galactic threat. Jerry, of course, was just messing about. We out-cardioed this galactic grunt and battled him for an easy victory. With his last breath, he limped over to the lake while we got distracted by Best Waifu over here. Get out of here, Derry. We agreed to cure this group of Psyducks, because who can refuse a request from Best Waifu? She definitely could have done this herself, but that can be overlooked. We delivered the charm to her grandmother and battled Cyrus for the first time. Monkeybo and Technobo had a pretty good time here, winning us this fight. This whole quest wasn't without its rewards, of course, as we obtained the Surf HM. With Surf, we were able to cross a small channel west of Jubilife City and reach Canalave. Over at the bridge, we had another battle with... what was his name again? This battle was rather unremarkable, with Technobo and our three starters dominating the fight. The same could also be said about Byron, the next gym leader. Monkeybo was sent out, and Monkeybo was the only thing we needed. It seems that all Pokemon named Monkeybo in this channel has a history of doing generally well. With the conclusion of the fight, we obtained our 6th badge, and Bailey here forced us to go to Iron Island to get the Strength HM. With Riley at our side, we spent the majority of the 21st hour going through Iron Island, obtaining items and grinding for both captures and levels. We went back to the Canalave library nearing the end of the hour and talked to Beardy Professor and Zon. However, during this lively discussion, a major explosion occurred that needed immediate investigation. Blueberry here took off by himself, while we were tasked to investigate Lake Valor. At the dried up Lake Valor, we successfully called Commander Saturn, who had already captured one of the Lake Trio. We hastily made our way to Lake Verity, where we were able to beat Commander Mars as well. Alas, we were late once again, having missed the transport of Mesprit. Beardy Man over here instructed us to go check on Jerry at Lake Acuity, which required us to make the trek all the way to Snowpoint City. Once we reached Acuity Lakefront, however, this ungrateful being completely stomped on our efforts. Over at the Snowpoint Gym, Monkeybo was sent out, responsible for the quadruple Pokeside of Candace's whole team. Candace handed over the penultimate badge, and we hastily made our way to Lake Acuity to check on our friend, Harry. Upon our arrival, we found that Harry had been completely beaten by Commander Jupiter. We checked on him, and it seems that he took the loss rather badly. He left us alone at the lake, and we made our way to Veilstone City to further confront Team Galactic and Cyrus. We managed to infiltrate the base from their storage area with Looker, and fought our way through their HQ. We managed to listen in on Cyrus' speech, and proceeded to fight our way through the building. This Cyrus fight was not a major obstacle in our quest for world peace, as Monkeybo took care of his Sneasel, Technobo his Crobat, and Pengubo his Honchkrow. We took care of Saturn again at Sharon's lab, and went on to free the Lake Trio, all in a day's work. Now, to confront Cyrus for the final time, we only had to scale Sinnoh's tallest mountain, Mount Coronet. But before that, we had to grind for a bit. After our short grinding session, we finally made it to the top, where Carrie here joined us to fight the two lady commanders. As always, this fight wasn't especially challenging, it was just long. After switching back and forth between Terabo and Pengubo, we finally finished the battle, and proceeded to watch Cyrus summon Dialga and Palkia, and somehow Giratina too. And here we are, back at the Distortion World. I kind of missed the stupidly long surf ride. Nevertheless, we must do what needed to be done. That is, beat Silence Descendant. Cyrus led with Houndoom, and I still had Terabo in front. I immediately switched to Pengabo, who was able to take out the Houndoom with a surf after being burnt. Technobo then came out, one-shotting the Gyarados with a Thunderbolt. The Honchkrow was next, who was also one-shotted with the same move. I accidentally pressed no on the switch and had to waste a turn switching to Monkabo. I went unpunished, as the concept of punishment is applied differently on this run, and ended the Weavile. Last was Cyrus's Crobat, who Technobo once again swept with a Thunderbolt. We were quite ready to conclude our business in the Distortion World, so we Master Balled the Giratina and named it as usual, Giratinas. After saving the world and having cried on by Professor Rowan, we went about our business of conquering Sinnoh in Cyrus's stead. We ran into Flint, convinced Volkner to do his job, and went on to challenge him for the final gym badge. Terabo was able to take down his Jolteon and Luxray, and left the rest to Monkabo. We finally got all the badges we needed for the Pokemon League, and got the final HM from Jasmine at this beach. Rumors had it that she went to Sinnoh because Olivine City's Ampharos was broken again. We spent the remainder of the 27th hour traversing Victory Road, and went on to grind for quite a bit before challenging the League. For the Elite Four, I usually grind and prepare for way longer, but hey, what could go wrong? Just before the League challenge, we had another run-in with Carrie, and by this point we were ready for the League in terms of our levels, so this was a walk in the park. Oh yeah, I got his name wrong. It's Harry. Following that beatdown, we entered the League halls, ready to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. We only had the Elite Four and Champion to go through. The first Elite Four member, Aaron, was pretty straightforward. Monkabo took care of most of his team, with the exception of his Drapion. The Drapion was taken care of by Terabo. For Bertha, Terabo finished her Wishcash, and Pengabo swept the rest of her team with Ice Beam and Surf, despite nearly getting finished by Bertha's Gliscor. For Flint, it was a bit more challenging. Pengabo was able to take out his Infernape, but the Magmortar proved to be too much for the giant penguin. Technobo came out and paralyzed the Magmortar before stacking his attacks on it. Technobo went down in the end though, and Spookybo the Gengar had to finish the job for him. Spookybo went down to the Flareon's Overheat, and Monkeybo went out again to finish the evolution. Last was Flint's Rapidash, and Starabo was the one to finish it, with the Rapidash killing himself with a Flare Blitz. It seems with each 100 hours video, I challenged the Elite Four with less and less preparation. I was going in with half a team that had no health items and poorly optimized moves. However, I was hellbent on finishing the league with these three starters. Lucian was the last Elite Four member, standing between us and Cynthia, and I led with Spookybo. I made the mistake thinking Spookybo could one-shot the Mr. Mime, and paid for it with his death. Starabo was then sent out to finish the Mr. Mime, and Lucian sent out his Gallade next. After scoring an aerial ace, the Gallade hit a crit Stone Edge, and Starabo went to meet Arceus. I wasn't sure what I was doing with Technobo here, but it kicked the bucket as well. And Monkeybo too. Pingubo managed to save it in the end though, finally taking out the Gallade with the Surf. I switched to Terabo for the Alakazam, and almost one-shotted his Espeon. After healing, Terabo's Crunch took out Lucian's Espeon. For the Bronzong, Pingubo made a valiant effort, and Terabo finished off the fight. You know, it could be a lot worse. For our lackluster preparation, at least we haven't wiped. Then, it was time for the final Hall of Fame obstacle, the Blonde Champion. Cynthia led her Spiritomb, and I led Monkeybo. With two flamethrowers, Monkeybo was able to take it out. For the Milotic, I sent out Pingubo, who took out half the Milotic's health with Grass Knot. Pingubo unfortunately got countered with a Mirror Coat. Technobo came out after, downing it with a Thunderbolt. For her Lucario, I sent out Monkeybo, who was taken out by an Extreme Speed. Terabo came out next and downed the Lucario with an Earthquake. Spookybo was out for the Togekiss, who got lucky with the Sludge Bomb, poisoning the Togekiss. It couldn't last the fight against the Togekiss though, so we had to rely on Technobo to finish a damn flying egg. Next was Cynthia's Garchomp, and I really thought Technobo would be able to tank the Dragon Rush, but I was wrong. Technobo died, and I sent out Starabo to lower the Garchomp's attack. Then, I used the Max Revive to bring back Technobo and Monkeybo, consciously letting Starabo burn. The second time Technobo faced the Garchomp, Technobo luckily dodged the Garchomp's Dragon Rush and ended the Garchomp with an Ice Beam. When it was time for her Rosa raid, Technobo did just enough, and Monkeybo finished the fight with a Flamethrower. Well, like I said before, it could be a lot worse. I should do Nuzlocke again, and actually prepare well before these kinds of fights. Nevertheless, we entered the Hall of Fame, effectively completing another one of our objectives. The National Pokédex, again. Before I put myself through the torture that is completing the National Dex, I boarded the ship over at Snowpoint City and battled Flint and Volkner over at the survival area. Buck talked to us for a bit after that, telling us to get stronger and reach Stark Mountain. Before we could even get the National Pokédex though, we had to complete the Sinnoh Pokédex first. Admittedly, I wasn't catching as much Pokémon as I could nearing the end of the main game, so I had a little bit of catching up to do. Evolving Pokémon, making and hatching eggs, and just generally catching the bits we had missed. We captured Azulf, Uxie, and the roaming Mesprit to complete the Sinnoh legendaries, as well as Dialga and Palkia, all named with a special naming scheme. Of course, the Pokédex struggles left us with some trauma. I never want to be in this room ever again. Ever. And neither do I want to see another digging screen. But when we had seen 210 Pokémon, we went to Beardy Man's lab and had Professor Oak show up and upgrade our Pokédex. We chased him all the way to Pal Park and to his house over at Eterna City, where we finally unlocked the roaming legendary Kanto birds. Before we continued with our Pokédex journey though, we went to Stark Mountain and met up with Buck, who asked us to patrol Stark Mountain in his stead. We found Sharon and the two commander ladies at the mountain's entrance, eager to ask about Cyrus. Well, not so much Sharon, he just wanted to make a fortune. We were able to beat the two ladies, and Sharon went deeper inside to look for the magma stone. Sharon got arrested pretty quickly though. Good job, Looker. With Sharon out of the way, we got Heatran and continued with our naming scheme for the legendaries. We also went to Full Moon Island, where we unleashed Cresselia on the world. What came next was quite straightforward, as we went back and forth between Jubilife and Route 202 to bait out the legendaries. We caught Moltres, Articunas, Cresselias, and Zapdas. And now we have the unobtainables. Similar to my Y2 video, I had to edit in all the encounters I couldn't get in the base Platinum game and put them in the wild, making it so that I still had to catch them. And finally, at the 76th hour, we were able to complete the National Dex. I had completely forgotten to record the Blue Trainer card after the Elite Four, but here we have our 2-star Bronze card. As much as I hated completing the National Dex, the next segment honestly wasn't too much better. We spent the first bits of the 77th hour getting our feel for the contests, easily winning normal and the Great Rank contests. Even Ultra Rank wasn't that hard. The majority of the time was spent grinding for Poffins to max out Rabo the Gardevoir's cute points, and of course, for accessories. After Rabo was a full-blown cutie pie, we went ahead and basically dominated up until the Ultra Rank contests. At this point, I thought I was good to go, but boy, I was severely mistaken. What I did not know at this point was that, in order for us to win the appeal section of the contest, you have to max out 2 other accompanying stats as well. So, I had to max out Rabo's beauty and smart stats too. That, and the accessories I grinded for, definitely wasn't enough. Due to my desperation, I camped inside this massage girl's house and changed the date on my computer so that I could get massages every 10 seconds. With every massage, she would give me an accessory. And of course, the Amity Square walking sessions. We bought a few off the flower shop, but that was pretty expensive. And I swear to God, every time our mother comes up, I lose all hope. After asking to be put up for adoption, we finally managed to find a contest without our mother. Our biggest foe here was Jasmine, and we easily won the appeal section with this abomination. I had practiced the dancing session so much, so I did quite well. It was reflected in the acting competition, where we went first because we had the highest score. I basically spammed Calm Mind and returns, much like the rest and snore combination I used for the Gen 3 contests. With all that said, we finally won a Master Rank contest. Finally. We obtained a 3-star trainer card, brandishing this cool silver card. For the battle tower, I spent the first couple of hours just getting my team ready, following yet another guide from a stranger on the internet. Because who wouldn't trust a stranger on the internet? I assembled the 3 Pokemon needed for my boxes, and they were Metabo the Metagross, Giabo the Gyarados, and Chombo the Garchomp. It took a while to get their moveset exactly like the post, but I gave them a chance anyway. And thankfully, they worked really well, even before I could apply the Choice Scarf for Metabo at first. This really showed when I ran through the singles battle tower with no trouble, even with the first fight with Brain Palmer. He was disposed of nicely. Then, I lost the 21st battle. Of course. The only way I was losing the few battles was because either I got careless or impatient, because this combination of Pokemon work well consistently. At the 94th hour, I lost at the 43rd streak, 21st again at the 96th hour, and I lost the 77th battle at the 99th hour. That one hurt the most, I think. However, as grindy and repetitive as the battle tower was, I actually had fun. Granted, it wasn't very fun when it felt like the enemy AI was cheating, but it was generally a fun experience. At the 106th hour, we beat trainer number 100, finally completing the battle tower objective. We got our 4-star trainer card, and it turned our card into a gold one. For our last objective, it was pretty much impossible to complete at this point on an emulator. I didn't have the capability to invade other bases and steal flags, so unfortunately, this would be where we end the run. Much like the Y2 video, the limited capability of the emulator got in the way of our trainer card conquest. And once again, I used Pokehex to modify the flag capture value to 50, creating a hypothetical scenario where we did complete this final objective. This would have been our black trainer card. I hope you enjoyed these 100 hours uploads in the past 2 months. They took a lot of effort to make, and some parts were really excruciatingly grindy. While many parts of these runs left me frustrated and worn out, I did enjoy myself making these. I'm glad the 100 hours concept took off on the platform. While this is probably my last mainline game that I'll do 100 hours on, I'm still open to new ideas and recommendations. Please look forward to my next videos, and I hope they could provide as much fun and entertainment as my 5 100 hours video did. Until then, take care.